Do like what?
This corner, like this. Because it was covering.
You were not able to see your face.
Oh. Oh, like that? Okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Balabha Girivardhari Gopijana Balabha Girivardhari Jasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Girivardhari Jasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Jayo Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajagacharya Ashtatara Sisi Maharaj Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Gaura Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. No work today, huh? That's it?
No, work is there.
Huh?
work is there?
She's working.
I'm working
On Saturdays.
on Saturday.
On Saturdays.
Yes.
That's not nice. All day?
Yeah, 9:30 to 5:30.
Gosh. Well, I guess it's better than the other way around, that you're laid off or something, furloughed or. Okay. Well, we are discussing Canto 10, Chapter 11, and is that right? No, that's not right. That's evening. That's evening. Sorry, folks. Yeah, Shankachuta. Okay. So let's see. Okay, Saturday morning. Okay, text 24 from chapter 34. We heard Shankachuta hasn't made his appearance yet in this Leela, but he's going to very soon. The first part of this Leela. So chapter 34 has two parts. Not swallowing Nanda by a serpent, and then after that is the holy festival engaged in by all the residents of Braja in standard ways, and they went to a particular place to do that. And Krishna and Balaram, because part of holy tradition is singing. So in the evening we heard the childhood pastimes where Krishna is pretending like he doesn't know how to sing, and he's like a little boy singing. And it's delightful, and the ladies clap, and they give him a sweetmeat, and he dances, and he does funny things. So now, much later, in his Leela, they're in a forested area. It's the evening has come. The full moon of the Purnima is in the sky, and there's the setting is very wonderful. There's breezes carrying jasmine flower fragrance and lotuses. These two types of flowers are mentioned. And Krishna and Balaram, they do a duet. They sing. But they sing in a way that no one else can sing. What we heard is there's 7 notes, which we know in the West as do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So there's 7 notes that they repeat in scales. And they knew the science, and that not only they sang songs that followed that pattern, but they sang all the 7 notes in 3 different scales simultaneously. Who knows what that would sound like? And the gopis were going, wow. And so they were singing songs praising and Krishna and Balaram, and it was a big festival. In the evening. So that's the time and the place and the scene. So text 24 of chapter 34 reads, "The gopis became stunned when they heard that song. Forgetting themselves, O king, they did not notice that their fine garments were becoming loose and their hair in garlands disheveled." No BBT purport, but Vishwanath writes, "Those gopis who were dear to them," that's Krishna and Balaram, "fainted on hearing those melodies. Such was their state that their clothing became slackened on their bodies, and flowers fell from their hair." Jiva Goswami writes, "The 2 groups of gopis separately," there's 2 groups, Balaram's group and Krishna's group, "separately heard the song sung by the 2 and fainted. because of this, they were not aware that their garments had become loose and that their hair and garlands had fallen off. Sanatana Goswami writes, after hearing Krishna's song, the gopis fainted. But first, they made attempts to remain composed. Or else, they fainted because of the song, which was most attractive, not depending on anything else. Oh, king, you can understand this. Their fainting was not improper. Now, earlier, I think it was yesterday, we heard that in this pastime, there was two separate groups of gopis and two different responses, and but because of the setting that Shukadeva Goswami was narrating, there were lots of sages present, so for whatever the purposes, he combined the two events into one event. That's Jiva Goswami's comment. And here's a section of Jayadev Goswami's writing. What's the name of Jayadev Goswami's writing? Gita Govinda, right? Gita Govinda. He writes in relation to this, it is clearly related that this other gopi, this is another gopi who's involved when Krishna was singing on this holy evening. It is clearly related that this other gopi was bewildered by his raga, the particular melody he was singing, and became charmed as she sang imitatively while embracing Krishna, although he sang to indicate to Radha that he wanted to enjoy with her. The other gopi became bewildered by his singing, it is said in this text for this morning. The gopis, translation, the gopis became stunned when they heard that song. O king, they did not notice that their fine garments were becoming loosened and their hair and garlands disheveled. Then Jayadev quotes the Yajurveda's Taittiriya Samhita, and the translation is, she adopted the form of a deer and ran away from the Gandharvas. The Devatas said, she has run from you, she has not come to us, let us both summon her, unquote. The Gandharvas uttered a spell. The gods sang, and she went to the gods as they sang. Therefore, women love one who sings. Semicolon. Enamored are women of him who thus knows. I don't know what that's doing in the Taittiriya Samhita, but the reason for making the reference is Krishna knew, and charming men know that women are attracted by their charming singing. So Krishna and Balaram, it wasn't like, wasn't mundane. It was for their pleasure, because we heard earlier, this whole scene is being enacted to give pleasure and honor Balaram, because Sheshanag is the Ananta Shesh is the preceptor, the one who delivers knowledge of music. That part of the Vedas, he's that source. From him it comes. So he was being honored. And there's, of course, multiple things going on at the same time. Krishna is stimulating the love of the gopis. The gopis are definitely feeling enlivened in Krishna's association. His singing ability is not only charming the gopis, but it's said specifically, it was charming to the whole world. It was mind transforming to the whole world. So back to Jayadev's writing. One gopi singing in front of Radha shows that gopi's disrespect. But she's excused because she was just maddened by what Krishna was doing. Panchama, this is in Jayadev Goswami's writing, Panchama refers to a type of raga, according to the Vishva dictionary. Vishva refers to a particular Sanskrit dictionary. So now we're ready for text 25. No BBT purport, but here we go. Translation. While Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram thus played according to their own sweet will, and sang to the point of apparent intoxication, a servant of Kuvera, named Shankachuta, came upon the scene. The drama is about to begin. Jiva Goswami writes, the two were singing and playing according to Horika custom, according to their will, and with great passion like other people. According to the Bhavishyotara Purana, this was the custom. The prefix sam, indicates that the singing was filled with prema, with particular sweetness. Sanatana Goswami writes, exceptional beauty was created by their singing and the gopis' singing. The two brothers played together without restraints, with skillful singing, as if completely mad. Sampra matavat. By their singing, their minds became completely bound. Or, the two sang, completely absorbed in the singing of the gopis. The prefix sam indicates that their absorption was more than the gopis. Krishna's bewilderment was because of the gopis' special bhava from singing. Balaram's bewilderment was because of the beauty of the songs. The suffix vat, or as if, is used in deference to sages of various moods who may be disturbed by this story concerning the Lord. He's narrating in front of a whole audience, and so he tones it down by saying as if, according to Sanatana Goswami. At this time, the demon came in front of them. The demon had on his head a huge jewel shaped like a conch, Shanka Chuda. Thus, he was famous by that name. He appeared before them with that form. Question: where did he get the jewel from? Answer: it was given by Kuvera because of his service. He was by species a member of the Yakshas. This is Sanatana Goswami's commentary. And what we know about the Yakshas, especially those that heard the Dhruva pastime. The Dhruva pastime, after he, to put it on Vasilate, if you will. I don't need it pointing at me.
Second one. Drop second.
No, not so fast.
Yeah, this
Okay. If you don't like the fan, you can just turn it off. I'm okay. Okay. Back to the Yakshas. Dhruva became the king following his father Uttanapada turning the kingdom over to Dhruva when he was of age to do that. And then later there was a problem. His stepbrother, what was his stepbrother's name? Who remember? What was his stepbrother's name? Uttama. So when Uttama was killed by the Yakshas, he was in the North Country traveling and something, hunting or something, and they killed him. So Dhruva wanted to take revenge. We thought he learned a lesson, but he got into revenge mood again. And so he went to destroy the Alakapuri, the capital city of the Yakshas. So who are the Yakshas? There's many things that's said about them. They're servants of Kuvera or followers of Kuvera. So Kuvera is their protector. And this Alakapuri, who knows what realm it's actually in? That is to say, when you read really carefully passages from the Bhagavatam and pay attention to what you're reading, it's a little puzzling because Kuvera is in the heavenly realm. And the followers of Kuvera are in the heavenly realm or near heavenly realm. According to what the Bhagavatam teaches is the residence of the Yakshas is in Bhuvar Loka. There's different planets or planetary systems in the Bhuvar Loka. So some of them are the Siddhas, Charanas, Gandharvas, Vidyadharas. We heard about the Vidyadhara that came from the body of the serpent. And the Yakshas, they live in that Bhuvar Loka region. That's, when we think like that, that's like, okay, three-dimensional space, it's above this realm. And then if you go beyond three-dimensional space, because we're not used to thinking beyond three-dimensional space, the Vedic cosmology teaches us of space that's beyond our experience of space. So, the mind, our conditioned mind doesn't go there because we have no frame of reference other than saying it's outside our experience. Or, another way of saying the same thing is persons of higher consciousness, they can experience that higher dimensional space, or the realities of the universal form as described in the Bhagavatam. Like, for example, there's the earth as a sphere, that Sanskrit is Bhugola. It's very clear. It's a sphere, or near sphere. And then there's Bhumandala. That's a flat topography. And Bharat Varsha is one of the 9 Varshas in the central island of Bhumandala. The central island has a name. What's the central island's name? Jambudvip. Dweep means island, Jambudvip. So that's and then there's 9 Varshas, and Bharat Varsha is one of those 9 Varshas. And it's in the southern region of Jambudvip, and then it's separated by the next Varsha, or tract of land, by a range of mountains. Each one is separated by a range of mountains. And the range of mountains is the Himalayas. But it's not the Himalayas that we know, it's a Bhumandala Himalayas. And on the other side of the Himalayas is another Varsha, which isn't, when you go on the other side of the Himalayas, you don't find this other Varsha over there. Hari Varsha, where Prahlad is there and Lord Nrsimhadev is there, and there's a whole bunch of, or is that Hanuman and Lord Ram? In any case, it's a different picture. So where did Dhruva go? Where's the capital city of the Yakshas? Did he go is it A, B, or C? Or who knows? D. Is it he just went to the Himalayas, and somewhere up there in the Himalayas was the city of the Yakshas? Maybe. B, is it in Bhumandala? And it's the ability to access a place where the denizens of the devas, by the way, the demigods, have a place in addition to in Swarga, like looking in this vertical dimension of the universe, they have a place on top of Mount Sumeru. That flat golden mountain top, they have the protectors of the directions, Dingpals. So it gets like, whew, boy, how do we process all this? In short, knowledge of the Bhagavatam is not accessible for people that just have conditioned minds, conditioned consciousness, and three-dimensional space. It doesn't work. Like, Mother Jasoda looking inside Krishna's mouth and seeing the universe. It doesn't work. So what do? You just say it's mythology. That's one thing, one option. Or Krishna has inconceivable potencies, and he can show that within him is everything, if he wants to, and then withdraw that vision, and there's no problem for him to do that. And Mother Jasoda can be given the eyes to see it, and then be covered by Yogamaya, and just think of Krishna as her son, and that's just fine. The unlimited potencies of the Supreme Lord to do whatever he wants is our position. And how do we know that? Well, we accept that on faith. I was just hearing a lecture Prabhupada was saying, do you believe in atoms? He was asking, the person was like, how do we know the soul? So, have you seen an atom? You believe in atoms? Have you seen one? But you accept that there's atoms. Have you seen an electron? Well, we know there's electricity. We know that there's electrons. And we use it all the time. So the soul is described as anu, or angsa. Very tiny. Have you seen one? Do you have to see it in order to acknowledge it? You accept some authority that there's atoms, there's electrons, and there's a soul. That's how we know these things. And by the symptoms, when the soul leaves the body, it is no longer conscious, so the soul has a symptom of consciousness. It's very reasonable. But we know it not just by reason, we know it by authority. So back to, the Yakshas. This Shankachuda is, he was by species a member of the Yakshas. And he happened to make his way to Braja. Now, how did that happen? Well, he had powers. One way to describe it is he is the living entities that are in Bhuvar Loka and Swarga Loka, they have powers that human beings on earth don't have. They can travel where they like the Vidyadharas. They travel where they like. Or like we heard 2 evenings in a row, from Mahabharata, when Agni was requesting Krishna and Arjuna to assist him in devouring the Kandava forest because he was ill from too much ghee from the sacrifice, Brahma said, "You're having problems with Indra, go to Krishna and Arjuna, they'll help you." So Arjuna said, "Sure, but we're going to need this and that and the other thing." And Agni produced this and that and the other thing, his Gandiva bow and a chariot that had horses, silver horses on a golden chariot that can travel anywhere. And at the end, Agni gave this benediction to them. Krishna doesn't need benedictions, but you can travel anywhere you like. So higher beings have those powers, and they can bestow those powers. They have capacities that we don't have. So someone can say, oh, mythology, or someone can say there are higher beings with higher consciousness and more power than we have. That's not so difficult. But it takes some faith to get to the point where you say, well, if Bhagavan, Krishna, has unlimited powers, he can invest some powers into beings that have powers beyond our powers. Yogis can travel. They can travel in the Ganges, and they can travel in space, and they can do things that we can't do. So you can say hogwash or ridiculous, or you can say they're invested with powers. They've learned the art, it's a material skill, to travel through point A to point B in no time. They know higher dimensional space travel because there's higher dimensional space, and they know how to move. So you can say ridiculous. But so the yakshas, they may come, and they may even have residences besides in Bhuvar Loka or Swarga Loka. They can have residences, and they can appear, and they can do things. So one other comment is going to come up. This is text 25. The commentary of Sanatana Goswami says he was by species a member of the yakshas. But wait, in a few verses, is going to say he's a member of the Guyakas, who are servants of Kuvera. Now, I couldn't find any clear explanation of what the Guyakas are and how they're different. Are they different? Maybe it's two terms for the same group, Guyakas, but they're also followers of Kuvera. And it may be that, because I couldn't find any reference, maybe it's just two terms referring to the same group. Or it may be something else besides that. Don't know. Continuing Sanatana Goswami's commentary. In the verse, it speaks of Kuvera, not by name, but Dhanada. Dha-nada means appropriately giver of wealth. Actually, Shankachuta has referred, that's an adjective describing him, the giver of wealth. Or he stole the jewel when he was engaged in guarding wealth. As a Guyaka, he was a servant of Kuvera. This is Sanatana Goswami in one paragraph saying he's a yaksha. Maybe Guyakas are subsets of yakshas, and they do something specific, like guarding the wealth of Kuvera. Can't say, I don't. As a Guyaka, he was a servant of Kuvera. Or, another rendering is, Dhanada, he did not serve Kuvera, he gave up the Devatas and sided with the demons. Thus, he became a servant of Kamsa. Now, he's not advocating that's what the situation is. He's just saying, from the Sanskrit text, these are ways to understand what the Sanskrit text is saying. So that's our reading for this morning. Shankachuta had a problem. And the problem was his heart wasn't clean. And people that don't have a clean heart become proud. Nala Kuvera and Manigriva, they were sons of Kuvera. Now here's a servant of Kuvera. But they both had the same problem. I mean, they manifested it differently, not so terribly differently, but they were proud. And Shankachuta just sees beautiful girls or ladies, young ladies, and he's thinking, that's it. They should be attracted to me because I have beauty, I have wealth, I have this special. So he's filled with himself and ready to just take them away and become the enjoyer of them, and in ways that proud men think that they're meant to be the enjoyers of ladies. So his pride helped him do what he did and not understand who Krishna and Balaram were. And just, right in front of Krishna and Balaram, just started taking them away. It was a big mistake. Do these things that happen in this world, apparently, they have their prototype in Krishna's pastimes. Men who think exploiting women is just fine. And there's consequences. And it may not be immediate consequences, as it was with Shankachuta, but consequences. Something that for this morning discussion, I purposely skipped chapters 29 through 33, and we went to 34 because 29 through 33 is Rasa Leela, and I didn't want to get into all the mind perplexing descriptions of Krishna's Rasa Leela, because worldly minds don't get it. But Jiva Goswami, in his BBT commentary in that section, repeatedly expresses the transgression of this world is not the same with Krishna. That is to say, Radha is Krishna's own pleasure potency, and the gopis are expansions of Radha, his pleasure potency. So they're his potency. And in the worldly position, an embodied person, a soul with a physical body, wants to be an enjoyer of some other object that's outside of them. They're who they are. And they have a lusty desire driven by the mode of passion to enjoy an object, whatever that might be. Thieves want to steal people's property. During this whole Black Lives Matter protest, mixed in with the people who were protesting abuse of black people, there were other people in that audience, and other people were just criminals, just taking advantage of the pandemonium to break into stores and loot and ravage stores, and other things too. And some of the recipients on the other end were black people that own the stores. Black Lives Matter, break the window and steal all their stuff, and violence and looting was going on too much for days and days and days. It was just like, and now it's gone to another scale. So that's just modern times. People imitate in the activities of the personality of Godhead, and it's dark, and it has consequences. Darkness leads to more darkness. But Krishna's activities are not like that. One could say, what's the difference between what Krishna and Balaram are doing and what Shankachuta was doing? Someone could say that. They were doing something that was a no-no, and he was doing something that's a no-no, so what's the difference? From a moralist point of view. But the picture is totally different. These gopis are his expansions. It's his Radharani's expansions, who is his pleasure potency. It's a whole other picture. Just like Nanda and Jasoda as mother and father. excuse me, but God doesn't have a mother and father. And he doesn't have a mother and father, but he has a relationship with them like mother and father. And similarly, the gopis, they're expansions of Radha. Well, excuse me, but and then same thing. These are expansions of his, because Nanda and Jasoda, the commentary says, they are expansions of his spiritual form, his Swarup Shakti, and his Swarup, his spiritual form. They are his expansions, and he's enjoying with them. And Radha is his expansion, his pleasure potency, and these gopis are. So it's a whole other set of rules. Although from a mundane lens, it doesn't look right. So therefore, the first 9 cantos are really important to understand. This came up yesterday, so I'm repeating it. If we don't understand the Aishvarya, the opulences of Krishna, we're not going to understand the Madhurya, the sweetness of Krishna. We'll misunderstand it. If the mind is contaminated by the modes of nature, karma, and the ability to conceive of things in 3-dimensional space only, because that's what our experience is, then we're not going to understand the sweetness of Krishna's Vrindavan pastimes. We can, it sounds nice, but not understand it. Or misunderstand it is a better way to say it. So this little piece is just to set the record straight, or to clarify. As we're hearing, we shouldn't hear as if it's worldly. It's otherworldly Leela, and here comes Shankachuda on the scene. A yaksha, or Guyaka, who's a servant of Kuvera, filled with pride. He's interrupting Krishna's Leela. That's not nice. And he's attempting to kidnap the gopis. That's not nice. He's going to have a problem as a result. But he'll get liberated. That's good. So let's see if there's some discussion.
Yesterday you were saying about Radha's question.
Oh, yeah. For 2 days in a row, 2 mornings in a row, Radha, who is Atulya's daughter, or Paramarupa and Tulya's daughter, had a question about a verse that she read in 7th canto. So Atulya sent me a note saying, Bhaktidari was right, we just didn't read this. The verse, it says that Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva did not worship Hiranyakashipu. So they missed the word not. So it's all clear. Anybody need the context clarified? Or we're good? Okay. Thank you for asking your question, Radha. We're ready.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. I was thinking about this yakshas living in the Bhuvadloka, supposed to be heavenly realm, right?
Where?
Above the earthly planets. So that means they belong to the
Who's they?
yakshas.
Yakshas, okay.
I was remembering about this purport from Ishopanishad. For mantra 3, Prabhupada is beginning the purport with the difference between suras and asuras. So suras are the one who always aim for the devotional service at the lotus feet of the Lord, whereas the asuras have their own self-interest as the thing. I was thinking about this example of Shankachuda and the other day Vidyadharas. They belong to supposed to be Suras category, Maharaj?
Yes. Well, they're not demoniac. their hearts are not clean. Some. I mean, all of them, because otherwise they'd be in Vaikuntha. So they're asuras, but their hearts are not clean. So when their hearts are not clean, it can get the best of them. Just like us. We may become overwhelmed with some, mode of nature and some desire or something or other.
So, is our position better than the...
No, it's not better or worse. It's just they're in that position. The Vidyadharas and the Yakshas, they're in that position because of elevated consciousness. Their elevated consciousness entitles them to be, in an elevated position with greater opulence and so forth and so on. But there's risks along with that opulence. As in our lives, there's risks for having opulence if the consciousness isn't right. So what's the essence, or what's most important, is the regard for Krishna. That's the Sura division. And sometimes that Sura disposition becomes covered by, let's say, for example, pride or lust. It happens. Now, is Indra, Sura or Asura? He sometimes does bad things. No question. That's his general orientation, but he gets confused sometimes, bewildered by contamination. Okay? Anyone else?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. I was trying to frame my question. Let's see. So you spoke about when we hear these things. I don't have any background, even though I'm from India, hearing these pastimes. So when I hear it, it really seems like out there.
Yeah, it is.
And you said some people can take it as mythology, but we can take it on faith, accepting the authority. And, some people can have full faith. So I feel like I don't have full faith, but I don't feel it's a mythology either.
Okay.
Like, I waver in between, like this up and down faith.
Okay. You have a big crowd in that same space with you. Lots of devotees are in that space.
Right. So how to increase that faith? Just stick with the process and keep hearing, or
Well, stay grounded in ABC, the fundamentals, and go on with hearing. And those things that they're clearly beyond your reach, you just acknowledge it. It's clearly beyond my reach. And I don't, obsess over that. With some faith that, the Bhagavatam is authoritative. The acharyas commenting upon it are the ones I'm hearing from are authoritative. And somehow it's beyond my capacity because my consciousness is down here. Just like, aside from the pastimes, just like go to something that's ABC in terms of scripture, and that's like physical things, like the structure of the universe. So, according to Canto 2, Chapter 1, where Shukadeva Goswami begins speaking, the first thing he speaks about is the universal form. Now, who in this room can say, I understand the universal form? And that's ABC. What to speak of Paramatma, what to speak of Bhagavan. It's not we don't have faith in Bhagavan, we just don't have realization. But we have faith. And it helps to have a picture that even we can't understand it so well. So it's not to obsess about it, and even there's different descriptions of the universal form. But in this universal form, when it gets up to, it's described in Canto 2, it's described in Canto 3, it's described in Canto 5. And it's like higher dimensional space, or one cannot, with these eyes, see it, and therefore, with this mind, conceive of it. So what do? You go on, it's the same question, but you follow the sadhana bhakti process, become purified by that sadhana bhakti process, live a life of goodness, remain clean, rise early, worship the deity, or make your offerings of your food to Krishna, and you do the ABC that's in Bhagavad Gita. Patram pushpam palam toyam yome bhaktya. So we do those things to purify, and as that purification becomes a little more matured, then coverings are removed and consciousness becomes elevated, and then I can start to understand things that I couldn't understand in more covered and less evolved consciousness. I trust that. I'm not there yet, but I trust that. And you keep going and keep going. And then their eagerness to hear grows, and then the cleansing accelerates, and the realizations start to open. And it's like growing a garden. And that you plant the seed and it starts to mature and so forth, till it becomes mature. So we're doing a gardening of the heart program by the process given within the scriptures, which I have in principle, I have faith in the scriptures and the acharyas who are presenting the scriptures. So I stay the course in cleansing, higher consciousness, more realization, and I keep going. And we do try to understand. And trying to understand with our limited faculties tells us, I'm pretty covered. There's not too much I can understand. But this much I can understand. And I work with that. This theme of acceptance and progress. We had a whole Gita Nagari retreat on that theme, acceptance and progress. So this is where I am, and I accept that. And there's a lot further distance to go. Let me take the means that are going to help me make the next step, like that. And back to your question, faith may waver up and down. And then consciousness and absorption and so forth may also waver. Then that's just unsteady bhakti. Welcome to the club. Therefore, faith in Guru and faith in Scripture, that's like essential to go further, to make the next step. Elaborating on that, I've been hearing Prabhupada speak on Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, different locations. He's speaking on Yayatamam prapadyante tangstataiva bhajamyaham. He's explaining the principle that we all have a leader. Krishna is the supreme leader. Supposing I accept Krishna as the supreme leader, then I've got some other leader. And we're following some leader. So, like his talk with Professor Kotovsky, what's the difference? You have as a leader Lenin, and I have as a leader Krishna. What's the difference? We have to follow a leader. So what's the verse? What great people do, common one follow. No, that's anyway. Yeah, yad acharati shesas. Yes, tat tat eve tororjana. So it's just it's a principle. And Prabhupada was saying you'll find it even in animal species or insect species. It says we follow leaders, and some people are leaders. But so who's the leader that you're going to follow? Then you can decide. Once you understand the principle, you can follow this, that, the other, depending upon what you understand, this and that and the other. So, as practicing devotees, we choose Krishna. Maybe we haven't chosen Krishna as much as we could have, or born in India, I could have, but I didn't have anyway. So here we are, and through the kindness of Srila Prabhupada, he extended Krishna as our leader to so many, 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 many people, and nurturing, and so here we are. Krishna is our leader, and I don't have full faith, but I have to follow somebody, so I want to follow him. And Krishna says, so I to my capacity I do, and so forth. We just, go to when you get in that bewildered state, go to basics, and you just stay grounded in the basics. This much I'm really clear about. And now, what's my next step? And you may hear things that are like beyond your capacity to understand. That's okay. Recognize when my capacity grows, I'll understand better. For now, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to continue hearing even that which I have. So, when I first read, or when you first read Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, maybe, born in India, you read multiple Bhagavad Gitas. And everyone has some conception based upon whether they read Bhagavad Gita or not. And then comes Bhagavad Gita as it is. And so it's, whoa, different. And we grow from hearing and applying those things that we understand. And that nourishes faith, and we go further and further because our faith has been nourished. Over here. Give to her.
Sucharita Mataji's question. Some beings like yakshas have higher level of consciousness, but still, is it that human form is best for self-realization?
Well, there's passages in the Bhagavatam that indicate not exactly human form, but this Bhumandala region is particularly favorable because it's not too much of this and not too much of that. Now, when one has opulence, there's facility. But it's not like if I don't have opulence, that's better. Because there's some people that have no opulence at all and they're degraded. There's some people that have opulence and they're excellent. But the statement, the demigods are standing in line to take birth on earth, that's there. To be born in Bharatvarsha, that's very special. But there's some people born in Bharatvarsha that are not so special. They've misused that opportunity. Some people become, they go the opposite direction. Become hedonists, or become atheists, or become crazy or something. So, not necessarily is my answer. There's advantages for sure. It's not too much and not too that, it's not too hellish and not too delightful. That's an advantage. In the Bhagavatam, Krishna says, a candidate for bhakti is one who is not overly attracted and overly renounced. That's good. Overly attracted to material, then they go in material direction. Overly detached, they become impersonal. So not too much and not too much is a good candidate. And then there's the struggle with, there's the attraction that I have, and there's the impersonalism tendency that I have. So we struggle wherever we are without shelter. And so there's opportunities to take shelter when it's not too much this and not too much that.
Uttama Bhakta Prabhu, can one of the mundane explanations of Krishna Gopi's relationship be that Krishna will do anything for the pleasure of his devotees even at the cost of his reputation?
Not exactly. He considers his reputation in a number of places, like the stealing of the Shamantaka jewel and all of that. So, not exactly. He's showing by example. And he's teaching, he's two things. He's teaching his actual position, and he's showing by example. I mean, like, people criticize Krishna no matter what. That he induced Arjuna to fight. Some people write commentary on Bhagavad Gita that say that's terrible. Commentary, terrible. Why bother with then even commenting if it's terrible? But, anyway. Or telling Yudhisthira to lie. That's terrible. There are people that are just going to... So, Krishna could have avoided telling Yudhisthira to lie because some people might criticize his character. But he wanted to teach something, and so he did it.
Prabhu, Uttama Bhakta Prabhu has another comment, and as you explained, gopis are expansions of Krishna. Once His Holiness Keshav Bharati Maharaj said, Krishna playing with gopis is just like an innocent child playing with his image in the mirror. Your thoughts?
Nice. The gopis are expansions of Radha, who's an expansion of Krishna. But you can say expansions of Krishna, but more specifically, expansions of Radha. Go ahead.
This is from Arna, Sanjay Prabhu's daughter. It's an unrelated question. In Srimad Bhagavatam 4th canto, I read that Yagya and Daksha got married and they were brother and sister. At that time, were they allowed to marry like that?
I'd have to read this section, but she can send you what that reference is and I can look at it. We can discuss tomorrow.
This is Atulya Mataji. How, as devotees, we get impacted by social and political disturbances as we are in this world due to our choices. What is the spiritual conception that I can carry to not get anxious about these situations?
Well, if you see through the eyes of scripture, Jnana Chakshusha or Shastra Chakshusha, then you can remain undisturbed. It's just a display of the modes of nature and the illusory energy moving by the modes of nature, and that has nothing to do with who you are. We want to take a responsible course of action in dealing with Krishna's energy, but you just stay in that position of being servant of Krishna, how to best serve Krishna given this particular configuration of Prakriti at the moment. And it keeps changing, and it's Kali Yuga, so it's dark. It's the nature. So I am Krishna's servant. I want to see what's being displayed by this feature of the illusory potency through the eyes of scripture. And then in the mood of service to Krishna, how to best address myself. So one of the things that you and all of us can do is see how different opportunities to present the message of Krishna consciousness is provided by the current affairs. And it keeps changing. I just made some comment earlier during this class about people taking super tamagun advantage of the protest of abuse of police authority or police power, and then some people just being dark ignorance and doing destructive things, violence and looting. So it's just the modes of nature. It's the modes of nature. It's the modes of nature. And the call for defunding police. Look at it aside from the political, look at it from the Bhagavad Gita point of view. Don't have Kshatriyas. It's not real. It's not Krishna's arrangement. So how to have qualified Kshatriyas, that's the real question, not, defund them. Like just chop off the arms of the body. You can't do that. You can't do that. It's Krishna's arrangement. You can't chop off the arms of the social body. Others will take their place, and who's going to take their place? Another set of unqualified people. The problem is not arms or Kshatriyas. The problem is unqualified people. So, we can take our position and speak. Not that our voice is going to be heard, but at least you know what the proper message is. That's how you can remain, fixed, by just clearly understanding Bhagavad Gita, listening to Prabhupada's lectures, and you go back and read, Back to Godhead magazine when it just got started, and Prabhupada again and again would speak on current affairs and draw it to a Krishna conscious perspective on current affairs. He was really skilled at that. So if you don't know how to do it, then you read how Prabhupada did it. And Bhaktisiddhanta, the harmonist, similarly, contemporary events and how to look at contemporary events through the lens of Scripture and stay rooted in faith. And Krishna has the answers. And people that don't know the answers create disturbances in the name of whatever it is, leadership and crime.
This question is from Radhika Priya Mataji and Chandana Mataji, both of them similar. Even if Shankachuda was a yaksha, how was he allowed in Vraja, or specifically even in Rasalila, where even Lakshmi and Shiva were not freely allowed to enter?
Well, they weren't. Lakshmi was, but she wasn't allowed to enter the rasa dance. So he wasn't allowed to enter. I mean, look at Kamsa. He was present. They saw each other face to face, but he wasn't allowed to enter into the pastimes. He rather was on the receiving end of Krishna's admonishment. Same Shankachuda.
This is from Amara Mataji. From Shankachuda's act, it feels that he is going to disturb a sweet pastime of Krishna,
Yes.
which is a great blunder.
Yes.
In our life of devotion, Krishna is working in unique ways, facilitating us to take next steps. What could be some cautions we should exercise not to disturb his working in our lives, keeping faith and not get anxious for anything other than his service?
Well, that you become an advanced devotee. And some of the measures is be vigilant about making decisions that don't align with the value that you spoke. So this exercise that we all were encouraged to take up in January, this exercise of evaluating at the end of the day important decisions I made, how much do they align with my values, and if that when they don't align, what was moving them. So you just keep, monitoring yourself. Are my decisions and choices being aligned with my values? And then look at your values. Are they aligned with my deepest convictions in life? So, that's practical.
This is from Satyavrata Prabhu. When we hear some realization from some persons about their reciprocation from the Lord, should we simply believe it, since everything is possible by Krishna's mercy?
Well, people can be deluded too. I mean, he's in India. There's deluded people in India that say all kinds of things about what their experience is. And so we don't have to believe it because they're deluded or it's sentimental or whatever. So a lot depends. We want to verify things by Guru Sadhu Shastra. Take that position. Here's an example. There's during Prabhupada's time, there was a devotee, won't mention his name. He kept having these dreams. Prabhupada came in his dream and told him this and that and the other thing. And then he would write to everybody, Prabhupada told me this and that and the other thing. And Prabhupada heard it, said, stop this. You can have a dream, but you don't take the dream as being, this is an instruction for you and for the world. I'll give my instructions this way. So you can take your dreams as you're getting some mercy from your spiritual master and don't take it in some literal sense.
This is Udayananda Prabhu. Lord Nityananda, being more merciful than Lord Chaitanya, attracts some people more, and consequently the service rendered to Lord Nityananda could be more efficient or affectionate. Is it okay?
Yeah.
This is Visalaksha Prabhu. What are the lessons should I learn from the pastimes of Lord Krishna and Shankachuda?
Don't be proud.
Rupavilas Prabhu's question. Did any Acharya reveal the lyrics of the beautiful songs sung by Lord Krishna and Balaram? Did they glorify the nature or the gopis' devotional service?
We just read it, and it's expressed. And beyond that, I don't know. I can only what our acharyas give and what the scripture gives, because what our acharyas give is from scripture. Beyond that, I don't know. Okay.
This is Sanchari Mataji's question from yesterday.
Okay.
Is every situation an opportunity for service, even those that involve or invoke negative emotions?
Sure.
How do we reconcile using our discretion and understanding opportunities for service?
Well, just take it fundamentally. You're choosing to move on the path to Krishna, and Krishna is making arrangements for you to move further on the path to reach him. Your negative emotions have to do with self-centered, I like, I don't like. It's favorable, it's unfavorable, and so on. It's the contaminated mind analyzing wrongly. So let go of that tendency. It's gradual, but let go of that tendency and look at the events. There's some that's like we listen again to the 6 times that I spoke on this, the Dhruva pastime of react versus respond. And you can choose to react and invest in, the material analysis of things, or you can choose to respond by looking at the nature of Krishna's giving you an opportunity to serve him and how to best do that. So listen to that, and it gives you lots of detail on how to move from the reacting to the responding. Good association helps. That's it. More?
Then one more
One more. What's the one more?
Facebook lo ఉంది.
Go ahead.
So Sanchari has another question. Is there a difference between demigods and regular residents of the heavenly planet?
No.
We see that there are many battles between the demigods and demons where there's loss of life on both sides.
Yes.
Is it the demigods that die or simply the residents of heavenly planets?
I've never heard that question before. I don't know anything from Guru Sadhu Shastra that says. I've never read anything that says a particular demigod is killed, like Indra being killed or somebody, Varuna or Agni or someone being killed. Never read anything like that. So I'm drawing a blank from Guru Sadhu Shastra perspective. Is it theoretically possible? Theoretically possible. Srila Prabhupada ki?
Who is the Sarita Mataji? Who is the Sarita Mataji? I don't know who it is. So, when you're replying to anyone, you can reply only to the person. You don't need to reply to everyone.
Oh, really? Like
Yeah.
that also possible?
When you click on it, you try that. Can you click can you try?
సుచరిత మాతాజీ నిన్న టైప్ చేస్తున్నారు
Yeah, ఎవరైనా, yeah.
ఈ రోజు నేను ఏం చేయలేదు
నిన్న మొన్న మెసేజ్ చేశారు. I keep missing to share that.